We have here a 2014 Volkswagen Jetta. The customer's concern is that it's running bad, and they took it to a friendly local auto parts store and they scanned it for them with their little generic scanner, and they said there was 18 trouble codes. Unfortunately, they cleared those codes, so I'm not sure I'm going to have 18 trouble codes, but they had the ex-husband, brother-in-law, cousin who used to be a mechanic has been working on it, trying to diagnose it. If I understand correctly, they've been swapping coils around and trying to pinpoint the misfire, but they didn't have any luck, so it's here at my shop. And I did drive this car in the bay, and it was running terrible. Major misfire. I'll show you how it runs, and then we'll get it scanned. Right off the bat, you can see somebody's broken this. This coil connector is very broken here also. They seem to be relatively well plugged in though. Let me start this up and show you how it runs. Now, it's kind of hard for me to see in the camera, but I can see it in the engine really well. It's really shaking. Maybe if I change angle, you can see it better. Like right there, you can see it a little bit better, like right here, how much it's moving around. Let's scan it, get some trouble codes. And we got two trouble codes here. Cylinder 4 misfire detected, and secondary circuit for ignition coil. So maybe this whole thing is just due to a bad coil. I don't really believe that, because the customer mentions their mechanic friend had swapped some coils around. So misfire number 4 and cylinder 4 circuit code. Now sometimes the circuit code means a bad coil, but maybe they just left it unplugged. Oh gosh. The whole inside of this is broken out. I don't know if you can. The whole inside here is broken. See how that moves like that? And the seal is missing inside there. You can see this one here is broken too. It seems to be latched though. But I always love stuff like this, because you almost have to fix this before you can, do I call this the misfire? It actually seemed like it was plugged in well though. It actually was latched. Let's see if I can get this plug back in here. Yeah, it's clicking into place, so I think it's making. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to need to clear codes just to see if that ignition coil code reoccurs. So misfire number 4 and cylinder 4 circuit code. Now sometimes the circuit code means a bad coil, but maybe they just left it unplugged. Oh gosh. The whole inside of this is broken out. I don't know if you can see that. The whole inside here is broken. See how that moves like that? And the seal is missing inside there. You can see this one here is broken too. It seems to be latched though. But I always love stuff like this, because you almost have to fix this before you can, do I call this the misfire? It actually seemed like it was plugged in well though. It actually was latched. Let's see if I can get this plug back in here. Yeah, it's clicking into place, so I think it's making connection. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to need to clear codes just to see if that ignition coil code reoccurs. This one don't seem to be plugged in all the way. If you look at the distance between here and here, it's very little distance, and this one's a little bit farther. I hate these types where they have this rail here. Got it to plug in there. Well, unfortunately this means we're going to have to clear the code and see if it reoccurs on that ignition coil circuit. Let's start it up and see if it still misfires. I'm sure you can see that. It's still shaking like a poodle crap in a peach pit. So obviously just the coil connector wasn't the problem. Let's check misfire counters and see which cylinder's misfiring. Let's see if that code reoccurred. Cylinder 4, misfire. Well, it's always fun when extra codes pop up, huh? Pump current open circuit. Well, right now we're after misfire. We're going to have to ignore that one for now. Now this is a UDS car. If you look up there where it says protocol, it says UDS. And what that means is you can't use measuring blocks right there. You have to use advanced measuring block values. So I'll just select that. This is a touchscreen computer. And it pops up this window over here. And there's so many fields, you can't just scroll through it to find it. You have to search. So I type in cylinder to find misfires. And we'll scroll down a bit. And right there you can see it says misfires per 1,000 revolutions. So as I select that, they will pop up over on the left side, and that's cylinder 1, cylinder 2, cylinder 3, and cylinder 4. You can see there's cylinder 4 the misfires are going up on. That's the same cylinder we had the trouble code for. So we need to do some diagnosing on cylinder 4. Assuming it's not a spark plug or a coil pack, because they've been swapping that stuff around, that leaves us with compression, injector. So maybe we'll do a leak down test or a compression test. Injector's a little hard to quantify, but we're going to go ahead and, just to confirm, we're going to go ahead and swap some coils around ourselves and take a look at the spark plug. These are always fun because you can't really get the connector out of the way without unplugging the other coils. And this is also in the way on this car. That's not always the case, but oh, since this is broken, we can get that out of the way. Great. Unplug the high pressure fuel pump solenoid to get that wire out of the way. Ooh. I think it's kind of stuck in there. Seems like it wouldn't be stuck like that if they had this out recently. Good grief. Man, did that thing get jacked up? So there's our spark plug. Pretty nasty. Some significant buildup there in the pocket. I might even consider it to be a little bit wet. I just smelled it. I don't smell any excessive fuel. Well, we'll swap some coils around and see what happens. Okay, I swapped the coils and the spark plugs. I put the number 1 coil here and the number 4 coil here. And I put the number 4 spark plug here and the number 3 spark plug there. Each one of these coils was very difficult to come out. It was like the boot, the rubber boot was stuck on the spark plug, and the spark plugs are nasty, like they've never been changed. But this one right here was not misfiring. As we looked at the scan tool, didn't trigger a trouble code, so I put it here, and we'll see if the misfire moves locations. Could be actually faster to type in number. Yeah. So cylinder 1, cylinder 2, cylinder 3, cylinder 4. And the misfire is still on the number 4. So it doesn't seem to be ignition related. That still leaves us compression and injector and maybe some other miscellaneous stuff that I can't think. We'll pull the spark plug back out and do a compression test or maybe a leak down test and see if we maybe look in the cylinder with a borescope. Let's check fuel trims while we're here. Let's see here. We'll type in trim, and that gives us the long term. That don't seem right. 0 milligrams per stroke. That definitely is not what I'm after. Let's type in long. Long-term adaptation of oxygen sensor. So I actually think this top one here is it. Yeah, and it's not showing anything, but remember they've cleared the code. So let's type in short. Short-term adaptation. Negative 25. That means it's pretty rich. It's taking away fuel. Doesn't really make sense. If the since it's misfiring on the number 4, when you see there the misfire counters are still going up, then there would be a lot of unburned oxygen coming out the exhaust, so that would make it look lean. And if it was lean, it would show a plus 20, it would show a plus number on the fuel. So that doesn't make much sense there. Is it possible the injector is dumping so much fuel in that it's running rich? I still don't buy that, because if it was injecting that much fuel into where it's misfiring constantly, there would still be oxygen in there coming past the O2 sensor. I still think it would show lean. And the engine is still shaking like crazy. It's really hard to do anything with the injectors. The injectors are underneath, since this is a direct injected engine. And they're really hard to do anything with regards to testing or look, even visual inspection. You just can't even see them. They're way down underneath there. Oops, left this unplugged. That's probably going to trigger trouble code. Maybe that's why it was running rich. Let's go look. Still showing very rich. Almost for sure I triggered a trouble code with that, leaving that unplugged. Fuel pressure regulator valve right there. Let me clear that. Obviously that did seem to affect the engine, and we'll look for short here, short-term adaptation, and that's still running pretty rich. Let me restart the car. Just wanted to restart the car to get a reset on the system so that if it's running rich, if it's truly running rich, that we'd know and not just lying to us. So select engine, advanced, and then short. Yeah, still showing really rich. Once again, I know this for a fact. The Misfire should make the car show lean. Just triggering the Misfire code right now. Well, let's pull that spark plug out. We'll do a compression test and maybe look in the cylinder with a borescope. I was going to do all this off camera, but I really just can't understand why these things are so hard to pull out of here. Grief. Put some dielectric grease on there since it was so hard. Okay, I got the borescope. I'm going to stick it down the hole. Not really much to see. Seems like my lens got dirty. Let me wipe that off. Okay, that definitely seems wet, and I don't know whether it's wet with fuel, wet with engine oil, wet with coolant. Don't know how well that's coming across on camera. That definitely looks like a problem. I'd love to show you another cylinder, but it's too hard to get those coils out. Let's see if I can blow that dry. If I can blow that dry, that probably means it's fuel. Let's blow in there and see what happens. Now if that was fuel, I'd be smelling it right now. And I don't really smell fuel. Not at all. It did seem to dry it off quite a bit. I don't know what all that stuff is I'm looking at. That looks like aluminum almost. Did I knock aluminum off the... Did I knock aluminum into the cylinder by blowing in there? From the threads maybe? Or the threads look damaged? Wow. It does seem drier, like it was fuel and it dried it off. I don't know how much. I know oil wouldn't evaporate, but coolant, the water in the coolant will evaporate, but antifreeze doesn't really evaporate. I'm having an impossible time seeing anything. I'm going to put this car back together and run it for a while. If it's coolant leaking into the cylinders, then we should be able to get it to reoccur. But as of yet, I haven't been able to get it to reoccur. Okay, I put the pump on it, pumped it up, and put some pressure in the system, and we should be able to see it reoccur if it's coolant leaking through the head gasket. Running the engine a bunch and opening it back up and sticking the borescope in, it's definitely wet. I just shut this thing off and it's really, really wet. Normally I would think the coolant would blow out of the cylinder, but this is really wet after running it. Let me stick a tool down there and see if I can tell what that is, whether it's coolant or not. Okay, I have this little tube here. Okay, I'm going to try blowing this out and see if anything reoccurred. Whoa, I don't know if you guys can see that, but tons of oil on that. You see that puddle of oil there, and it's flowing back into the center of the cylinder. I don't know what this means. Oil coming down from the top, does that mean a crack in the head? A valve stem seal that's so bad that it's leaking through the intake valve? I don't know, but this is not good news for this customer. Okay, a few minutes have passed, and hopefully you can see that oil has traced all the way across the piston. Wouldn't mind blowing it out one more time and just to verify. But this is definitely an oil contamination in the cylinder problem. Let me blow it out one more time. Going to wipe the oil off this tube. Blowing in the tube. Once again, the tube got really, really oily from doing that. There's our puddle of oil again. Seems to be spreading really slow this time, but it's definitely spreading. You can see there it's reached into the circle in the center of the piston. Not very good news for this customer that the oil pretty much confirms that there's so much oil in the cylinder that the spark can't happen. And never really seen that before. I've seen it with antifreeze and coolant several times, but never really seen too much oil in the cylinder causing a misfire. At this point, all we can really recommend to the customer is to remove the head and inspect. There could be oil pressure leaking from the head gasket into the cylinder because there is oil pressure that passes through the head gasket in order to lubricate the camshafts. And so that could be the case, or it's possible that it's leaking through the valve seal, and maybe the valve guide is loose also and it's leaking down into the intake. And I don't really buy that, but that could be the case. It's also possible there's a crack in the head and it's leaking through the crack in the head into the, from the valve cover area or from the oil pressure. down into the cylinder. Either way, it's no good news for this customer. If you've seen our other video relating to a similar car, you can look up in the cards and watch that video. But we've had some trouble getting valve guides for that engine, and I'm pretty sure this one would take a similar valve guide. That engine is a CCT 2-liter TSI, and this one is a CPR 1.8 TSI. So we may have trouble rebuilding this. It may be a situation where we have to recommend to the customer to replace the head with a dealer head again. And so either way, it's just not good news for the customer. So if we get the job on this, I might make a part 2 video. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button, and if you'd like to donate to the continued production of these videos, visit my website at www.kansascitytdi.com. And if you want to watch some more of my videos, you can click on that one right there, or maybe this one right here. And don't forget to subscribe right there.